Well, hello my fellow car modelers, how you doing today? Welcome back to another episode of Model Car Hobby Headquarters, and we're going to do something completely different. We're going to talk about model cars. Yeah, we got some things to show you today. This episode is inspired by a viewer that has several times made comments of, hey, do a video on 124th versus 125th. What the heck is going on there? So Weeby Lobo, I'm making this, all right? Thanks for the suggestion. And I think there's been a couple other people that have asked the same question over the years. Let's go over the whole 24th, 25th scale thing, why it happened. It's kind of, I've heard things over the years and people said, why this? And, I Googled it. I got a few kits that we're going to do a little comparison to just to see the differences. I'm going to talk about my feelings about it. It's kind of cool and it's kind of annoying personally. Sometimes this 24th and 25th thing, especially my early years of building models, really annoyed me. Pretty ticked off about it because there was like two particular cars I wanted to build and I wanted them to sit next to each other, but one was built in only 24 scale at the time. Is all I could find at the time, and I liked that 24 scale, but its companion car was 25th scale. They never did a 24 scale at that time, and I wanted these two cars to sit next together, and they look stupid. I'm just doing my complaining thing here, and that's probably better for my vlogs. This is not one of the vlogs. I'm not here to get angry. Nowadays, it kind of doesn't matter to me, and as far as mixing the scales, I don't have a problem with it. Sometimes you can benefit from the mixing of the scales. Talk about that a little later in the video. For now, let me show you a couple of kits that I'm going to do a comparison of the two similar bodies and stuff. We're basically just going to look at the bodies. I'm not going to get into engines and all that stuff. We could do that some other time. But as far as engines and chassis parts, there's lots of times that you can benefit yourself from taking 24 scale parts and putting them into a 25th scale and vice versa. At least I've made it work for me, and I'll share that with you. Let's go ahead and take a look at these differences, and hopefully we get some answers to you guys, and you'll understand why it happened. I think I'm not quite sure if I understand. I don't understand a lot of things. I might be lying through this whole thing, just fooling you. You let me know what you think. I'd like to hear your suggestions of what the heck's going on. For all we know, this could be a government cover-up. Conspiracy. I think it has to do with UFOs. Yeah, I think it has to do with UFOs. So to start this whole story of 24th and 25th scale model cars, here's a few kits we're going to examine. I picked out a couple of like kits. That one is 25th scale, one's 24 scale. Soon here we'll take the bodies out to do a visual comparison, but basically how this whole little slight difference in scale came about back in the 60s, early 60s. 124th scale, it was a real easy scale to bring things down, where the 24th means 1/2 inch represents a foot. And in the 60s there was this boom of a new hobby that was slot car racing, and it seemed to be a really excellent scale that everybody liked for running slot cars. It gave a good visual. It seemed like back in those days with the technology, 24th scale really shrunk down well and kept things fairly proportioned and accurate looking. It just became a popularity thing. There was also 32nd scale, and both 32nd scale and 24th scale could ride on the same tracks. And this was mostly back then. This was kind of before the big HO hit that brought smaller cars into the homes. This was more the commercial. Everybody would go to a shop that they had a big track and hang out and race their cars. 24 scale was just the optimum popular look. And there was a lot of kits starting to come out, so guys could buy model car kits and convert them into slot cars. And there were a lot of slot car kits that came out back then. And Monogram and Cox were some popular ones. There was Aurora. And so the 24 scale movement kind of took off that way. And Monogram was a company that really grabbed it as far as the US manufacturers. Monogram was the one, because it was kind of that slot car heritage, that really had them grasp a hold of the 24th scale structure. But for the most part, all the other US manufacturers started looking more into the 25th scale, which 25th scale made the cars a little bit smaller. 25th scale is more of a representation of a 7/16 of an inch represents a foot. 7/16 is a 16th of an inch shorter than a half inch. Going back to what we were saying about 24th scale, where a half inch represented a foot. Your 25th scale models tend to be a little smaller. Then we jump into the Japanese kits like Tamiya's that I love, and they're all 24th, and most of your import kits are 24 scale. That seemed to be the scale that Japan and your European companies tend to lean towards the 24th scale. So we're going to start off, before we look at the model kit bodies in detail, is this neat little device I picked up a few years ago at Andy's. And I find it to be helpful in scratch building and figuring some things out. But it is a little reference gauge ruler here, and as you can see right here, there's other scales, but we have 24 and 1/24 scale, and it says here, you know, a half inch equals a foot. And there is our 24 scale deal right there. There's a few other, like 1/48 scale, it's upside down, but on this one here, on the other side, we have our 25th scale. Come on, we have our 25th scale. You can see right here on the 25th scale, it's these increments here. That's about a 7/16 of an inch. 1, 2, 3, which represents a foot. So that can be really, really helpful in some scratch building. But for now, let's go ahead and take a look at some bodies. So the first examples that we're going to take a look at are not exact cars, but they are close enough to get a good representation here of the two scales. We have first the Monogram 1/24th scale 1986-87 Buick Regal Grand National kit. And over here, within the past few years, recently reissued Revell 25th scale 1983 Oldsmobile 442. Now these cars were both basically very similar, both put out by GM. They were both G bodies, so they're close enough to see. You know, again, there wasn't a 25th scale Buick, there wasn't a 24th scale, unfortunately 24th scale Oldsmobile ever done. So, but they're close. And I'm sure many of you do know the relations between the Buick and the Oldsmobile G bodies. They basically shared the same platform. So everything should line up the same if they were the same scale. So what we've done is I've lined them up perfectly with their B pillar. Okay, so as we can see here is that it's definitely visible that the 24th scale car is larger than the 25th scale. You can see by the roof here, look at how much longer this roof is compared to this. And again, right here we have, right, this line here is where the B pillar is. And look at how much farther we have with the rear of the roof and the front of the roof. The cowl, and we're all the way up to the nose. Look at how far we've got with the nose and the tail. Now these two vehicles in real life in 1/1 scale would measure up exactly the same. So there's your difference between 24th and 25th scale. And on this side shot you can see how much the lower body there, which is the 25th scale Oldsmobile, is so much smaller than the 24th scale Buick. And if you can notice here, this is hard, I'm trying to hold them up with my hands, is you can also notice right here is, again, the B pillar is lined up, but look at how much longer the back of the C pillar and where the A-pillar starts. Look at how much far forward the A-pillar is on the 24th scale compared to the 25th scale. I'm sure you can tell from this how much taller the 24th is from the 25th. So this is where I personally, I was so excited about this Oldsmobile finally coming out, but I was kind of bummed out that it was 25th scale for a lot of different reasons, between trying to match them up with built Buick Regals from the Monogram 24th scale series, and also trying to get into the NASCAR models, which were also 24 scale. A NASCAR Buick body is pretty much exactly like this, just with the NASCAR trim. Let's show you another example. This next example is a pair of 1971 Satellites slash Roadrunners. We're going to call them Satellites, just want to get that clear as I refer to them. That was the base model. But we have ourselves a couple of Satellites, and this first example, the yellow one here, this is the 25th scale MPC version, and up above here is we have first edition of Monogram's version of the 124 scale 71 Satellite. Both fairly, really good representations of that car. They're both Mopar B bodies. They're exactly the same car, but you can see the huge difference here. And I lined them up to where this is kind of like equally in the middle of the other one, to go by. There's no B pillar to line up or anything, but you can see again, there's the front of the roof, how much farther forward it is. When I get it nice and straight, so much farther forward, the 24 scale one. The back, that, so you can see how much larger that roof is, how much longer it is. Look at that, the nose, and you can see from the tail. Now these, compared to the last two cars, these are a representation of the exact same car. So you can see how much smaller the 25th scale one is, how much longer the wheelbase is of the black one. That's a considerable amount. So you would not be able to cross parts from either one of these cars. And just to show you, look at this. We'll take the tail light area, the rear bumper. Let's get that. This comes from this kit. Fits absolutely perfect, as you can see. And let's see the big difference in trying to put this rear bumper on this 24 scale one. Not even close. Let's get that right here. Not even close. It almost like fits inside the body here. So you would not be able to cross-pollinate these two kits at all. If you were missing the hood from this one, you try to put that hood on, it's going to be way too small. Now here's a little different subject. We're going to move into some race cars here. These are NASCAR race car bodies. And this one you really can see the difference. Now here's the two exact same cars. These are 1990 Luminas. The top one here is the AMT 25th scale. The bottom one is the Monogram Revell 24th scale. It's almost self-explanatory here. You can just see how much bigger this one is. Just extremely different in scale. You put these two cars together on the shelf and they are just not going to match up. If you're trying to build like a fleet of cars, if you were doing a diorama, you wouldn't want to use these two cars together if they were like in a shop setting. And for our last example, we're going to take a look at the venerable 1957 Chevy Bel Air and Nomad on a kind of 24 scale, which is, this is a Monogram 24 scale Nomad. I don't have a 24 scale hardtop to match up with the AMT right there, 25th scale two-door hardtop. I am pretty sure, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure you will, but pretty much the dimensions that we're going to look at between the Nomad and the two-door are the same. This gets really interesting because this is going to show an example of how sometimes the older 24 scales were kind of out of proportion. You can see though the differences, how This yellow one, the 24 scale, is way longer in all the dimensions. We are lined up with the A-pillars, but these headlights come way farther out. Tail fins come way farther out. I would venture to say, and it looks to me, that the technology that we have in the 90s to create this tooling created model kits that were far more accurate in dimensions. I would say this is more of an accurate 57 Chevy, and I'm going to show you some interesting points on that, where this one's kind of odd. But first of all, let's take a quick look. I'm just going to leave it here, and I'm just going to use my ruler, and we have we're going to go by the character line, which would be in the middle of the fender here where the headlight opening is. We're going to be using this gauge right here, just numbers. It's not a particular measurement, but we've got a 0 here, and it goes to the notch right before the 7 there, and we 0 the center of this fender, and it goes right to the 7 there. So you can see how much farther apart these headlights are. But this is going to be the real strange one. Here is the hood from the 24 scale. Obviously it's yellow. It fits right on there. And let's take a quick look at the front of it. You can see right there. Fits very nicely. Now here's a strange one. You shouldn't be able to do this. Look at how that hood fits right onto this 25th scale one. A little bit of a gap right there because it's not quite angled right. But take a look at that. It fits almost perfect. And this is a 24 scale hood. Kind of goes to show you how little out of proportion this 24 scale quite possibly be. And you can kind of visually look at it if you're really familiar with the 57 Chevys. And let's do a little comparison, wheel well to wheel well. They're almost the same. That's pretty odd. But yeah, this is a lot more narrower. So this is a bit out of proportion. You guys tell me down below what you think of if you're an avid 57 Chevy builder. Tell me what kit you like and your reasons why. And if you agree with me or disagree with me, or if you really know about 57 Chevys, to tell me that this thing wasn't correct. I say, let's build models. Let's not worry about the rivet counting. Let's just have a good time. Because there's one more thing I want to cover in this whole 25th scale, 24 scale debate. If it's a debate. Let's get rid of this thing. And let's focus on this 25th scale 57 Chevy. Sometimes you can have 24th and 25th scale work to your advantage. And a great example is, let's say I'm building this hot rod right here, 57 Chevy, and I want to have a really cool looking engine that has really cool looking parts that I can only find in a 24 scale engine. But I also want to use that 24 scale engine, let's say just like the one out of the Malibu that we worked on a few episodes back. That's a cool engine. It's cool looking and everything, but it's 24 scale. I'm going to use it in this 25th scale body. Hey, I think we got ourselves quite the hot rod look. Sometimes you can just really get that big engine look out of a 24 scale engine, and it'll look just fine in a 25th scale car, and you just get that look you're looking for. It's perfect. I like it. Sometimes it just, you know, it's okay to really show off that your engine's a big race engine hot rod with a big 24 scale engine with all the cool parts that came with that kit. Stuff like this intake and these valve covers out of this kit from the Monogram 1966 Malibu flip nose. So there you have it. That's my take on it all. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something from it. If you want to argue with me about it, put it down in the comments below. I'd like to hear your side of it. If you think I'm wrong on anything, I'm always open. I could be wrong about some of this stuff. If some of you guys know, I'd like to hear it. You know, I'm not combative with this. I might not get too mad. I might not blow up, please make the comments. I read them all. This ought to prove I read them all. And you guys keep on making suggestions. I've made so many videos in the past because of what you guys have said you'd like to see. Just like that's how this got made. Thank you for the suggestion, Mr. Lobo. So remember, this is me, Luka C. Keep gluing those fingers together and keep cutting that styrene. We'll see you in the next video. Hey, do a video on 24th and keep bluing. I might do the styrene thing, so take this. And let's go. And keep cutting that styrene. Keep gluing your fingers together. Did you see that? That blew it. Let's try it again. There's tons of them, but I don't know. Hey. Let's build some models. I'm going to go build some models. Yeah. Nah, you know what? I'm going to Andy's. That's what I'm going to do. And we have an old version of the Monogram 124. Let's start this whole thing over again, because I just want to start it over again. So we're going to start it over again. Well, hello my fellow car modelers. How you doing today? On today's episode, is it an episode? I guess it is. Yeah, of Model Car Hobby Headquarters. Cool. And welcome back to Model Car Hobby Headquarters. Yeah, I'm going to start this all over again. So, this is no good. Yeah. Do I look pretty? I don't have any coffee. Can you wait? I got to get a cup of coffee. Hopefully it won't go cold.